You ever have those days, or maybe weeks, where you feel like you're just running on a hamster wheel? You're working harder than ever, you're exhausted, but you're not actually getting anywhere. It's like you're just spinning plates, right? Well, what if there was a way to break that cycle for good? Today, we're going to dive into a framework called the Rocket Model, a tool designed to get you off that wheel and onto a path of real, meaningful reward.
So let me ask you this and be honest. Are you trapped in the day-to-day busyness of your work? I mean, does your entire day just feel like one long reaction to whatever crisis pops up next with absolutely zero time to think about, the future? If you're nodding along right now, stick with me because you're in exactly the right place. All right, let's get into it. First things first, we've got to put a name to this problem, something I think a lot of us know intimately. We're talking about the business rat race. You know the feeling, right? The phone won't stop ringing, suppliers need something, your staff needs your attention, and oh yeah, the accountant is chasing you for reports. It is just relentless. You spend all day putting out fires, and yeah, you're busy, but it's this chaotic, reactive busyness that just leaves you feeling drained. In that state, that feeling of constant chaotic reaction, well, that's what we call the rat race. It's when you're so caught up in the day-to-day grind, just doing stuff, that you completely lose sight of where you're actually supposed to be heading. There's no map, no long-term direction, and honestly, it's not just exhausting, it's downright dangerous for your business. Let's make this real with a quick story about a guy named Bruce. Bruce was fantastic at his job, building walls. Business was great, maybe a little too great. He got busier and busier, and then it all started to fall apart. See, he got trapped just doing the work. He started falling behind, quality slipped, and pretty soon he was losing jobs. He ended up having to work way more just to earn the same amount of money. That, my friends, is the rat race in action. Okay, so that's the bad news. The good news? There is absolutely a way out. This brings us to a whole new way of looking at things, a tool that can help us escape the very trap that caught Bruce. And that tool is called the Rocket Model. It was created way back in 2007 by a business consultant named Stephen Wood. And he designed it for a very specific reason. He saw way too many business leaders completely drowning in the day-to-day chaos. So he built this incredibly practical tool to help them detach, to step back, and to actually plan for the future, beyond just the numbers on a spreadsheet. Now, if you take only one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. The absolute core of the Rocket Model is this simple but powerful separation. On one hand, you have working in the business. Think of that as the rat race, the day-to-day stuff. On the other hand, you have working on the business. That is the real goal. That's the leadership, the planning, the building for the future. And that distinction, honestly, it changes everything. All right, let's break this down. We'll start with that first part, working in the business. You can think of this as the operational engine of your company. It's the part that's doing all the heavy lifting every single day. So inside this operational engine, the model breaks it down into what it calls the customer to cash process. It's pretty straightforward, really. It's made up of three big steps. First, you've got to win the business. Then you have to actually do the work, the operational delivery. And finally, you have to track everything to make sure you get paid and stay afloat. And look, let's be super clear. These things are non-negotiable. They are essential. This is the engine that makes your business go. But an engine without a driver, without a steering wheel, it's just going to run wild or worse, crash. And that's why the other half of this model is so incredibly important. Right, so if that's the engine, we need a guidance system, don't we? Well, that's where we get to the other side of the coin, working on the business. This is where you, the leader, step in and actually steer the whole thing. This leadership perspective has 5 key components. It all starts with your leadership vision, knowing where you're going. From that vision, you build your strategy. Your strategy then determines your organization, how you're set up to get there. And underpinning all of this are 2 really important cultural pieces: have fun and act with integrity. Let's talk about that leadership vision for a second, because it is the absolute foundation. And we're not talking about some fuzzy, feel-good mission statement you hang on the wall. No, this is a crystal clear picture of what you want to achieve. A perfect example: I want to grow this business so that one day it's sellable. Boom, right there, that's a vision. It's tied to a personal goal, and it instantly tells you what kind of business you need to be building. Now, that have fun part might sound a little fluffy, but the way this model defines it is brilliant. It's not about ping pong tables in the break room. It's about job satisfaction. It's about putting the right people in the right roles so they can use their skills, feel successful, and actually enjoy their work. Because let's face it, someone who's stressed out and in a job they hate is definitely not having fun. And the last pillar here is act with integrity. And it really is as simple as it sounds. You say what you're going to do, and then you do it. Period. It sounds basic, but it is so powerful. This is how you build trust with your customers, with your suppliers, and with your own team. It's the bedrock of a good reputation. Okay, so that's the theory, that's the model on paper. Now for the fun part, let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. Remember our friend Bruce, the wall builder? He was drowning, and the answer for him wasn't to build walls faster. It wasn't to work even harder. The answer was for him to stop, take a breath, and for the first time really focus on working on his business instead of just in it. Here's another great case study. It's about a hire repair business that was really struggling. The owners wanted to retire, but the business wasn't in any shape for that. Why? Because they were ignoring the working on the business side of things. They had no clear leadership vision, so the rocket model helped them create one. They weren't winning enough new work, so they realized they needed to hire sales and marketing people. There was a total lack of accountability, so they set up clear roles and started tracking progress. See how it works? For every challenge, there was a strategic solution. And the result was incredible. By using the model, the owners finally got that big picture clarity they'd been missing. They started to see what needed to be done to build a business that could run without them, so that they could finally step back and retire. Okay, so we've seen the model, we've seen it in action. Now comes the most important question of all. What about you? How does this apply to your world? And what's your first step? Look, the real key to making this work isn't some huge dramatic change overnight. It's consistency. That's it. It's about carving out a little bit of time, maybe it's just an hour every single week, dedicated to working on your business. That consistent activity is what keeps your head clear when things inevitably get messy and chaotic. So I want you to think about the model we just went through. You've got the operational side and you've got the leadership side. Where do you think your biggest gaps are right now? Is your vision kind of fuzzy? Is your strategy just a vague idea? Or maybe the doing part, the operational delivery, is a complete mess. It's time for a little self-assessment. Where do you need to put your attention first? Because here's the thing, creating that roaring success you're dreaming of, it doesn't start with some giant impossible leap. It starts with just one single focused step. One step away from the rat race, and one step towards building the future you actually want. Creating real value not just for yourself, but for everyone your work touches. So what's that first step going to be?